Evening, folks, and this is the most important stimulus news that you have to know.
Let me ask you, because one of the questions right now is paid family leave. You said that you hope that that's going to be in there, 4 weeks of paid family leave, and the expansion of Medicare to include dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Is that going to be in the bill?
Well, that's part of the negotiation. Dental is very expensive, so hearing and visual. And dental, but dental will take a little longer to implement. But that's part of the negotiation right now.
So you don't know what's going to be in the final bill.
Well,
it sounds like you're saying dental might not make it because
it's
so expensive.
It'll be on a path. It'll be on a path. But what they told us, and I don't quite understand why, but we've been told by people who know about these things that it'll take 5-6 years in order to implement the dental. Yeah. So how do we, shall we say, fill in the blank there? Bernie has some suggestions about how to do that. That'll be part of the negotiations.
Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont. Sanders. Are you frustrated? I mean, you talk about how you're almost there, except for 10% of the bill, and you also talk about how the House is there. You guys are ready. You're going to pass it, and it's really these two Senate holdouts, Sinema and Manchin. Are you frustrated with them?
Well, I'm respectful of everybody's point of view. I do not want the I don't want the Trump tax cuts perpetuated. So I don't want anybody to think if we don't address those right now that they're off the table. No, we will use them for something at some point.
Currently, we are now seeing more and more governors across the country passing new stimulus bills. And these stimulus bills will provide residents with a new stimulus payment for additional financial assistance during the crisis. And there are also some Americans that could receive easily up to $1,000 for each stimulus check. And to find out if you're eligible for a new state stimulus check, then be sure to stay until the end of this video, and don't forget to give this video a like and share this video with your friends and family. The White House is hopeful of moving towards a deal on the remainder of President Biden's huge Build Back Better agenda. That's before the end of the month, and that's with House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer hopeful of getting a framework in place before Monday. Everybody, you have to know this. Earlier this week, Biden met with 19 lawmakers in an attempt to find a compromise to satisfy his disparate caucus and to secure the passage of a $2 multi-trillion-dollar social safety net and infrastructure package. There is also a large number of states that have approved their own rounds of direct payments for residents, and Texas is one of them, giving their educators additional stimulus checks. Individual school districts introduced various bonus schemes to encourage teachers back to the schoolroom. And in the state of Florida, some people are getting $1,000 stimulus checks. Everybody, has your state governor done the same thing? How about your mayor? Has your mayor done the same thing for his city or her city? Have they given you a state or county stimulus check? Leave a comment down below saying yes or no. I do think that our federal government and even the state government must do a better job in helping out the American people. But still, in Florida, an additional round of $1,000 stimulus checks was reserved for around 170,000 teachers and principals across the state. This is a thank you bonus for their work throughout the crisis. DeSantis decided to spend about $216 million on relief funds. Eligible workers in New York can also access a $2.1 billion stimulus check fund, allowing those unable to claim the additional 2 stimulus checks to receive at least some support. You must simply be a state resident who earned less than $26,000 in 2020 and have missed out on the previous stimulus checks. Like Florida, Georgia's stimulus check is focused on educational staff. Another state to provide additional direct payment to educators is Michigan, and some residents will have received an extra payment from the state of New Jersey after a $500 tax rebate was sent out over the summer to eligible New Jerseyans. In Arizona, there is a return to work bonus that will provide unemployed residents to receive a $2,000 direct payment if they find full-time work. As we can see, there are some governors and even some mayors incentivizing their residents to go back to work and to also receive a stimulus check by doing so. I believe this is a good idea, folks, and I believe that more states across the country should definitely do this. And so, there are also Indiana residents that will receive a state-funded tax refund worth a combined $543 million when they filed the 2021 tax returns, after the state recorded a budgetary surplus on the previous fiscal year. There is also a large number of states that will be sending out additional payments to their residents soon. If you do believe that all states should send out an extra stimulus check, tell me in the comments below about that. Early this year, an insistent cry arose from business leaders and Republican governors to cut off a $300 a week federal supplement for unemployed Americans. But many people argue that this will hurt many Americans. And yet, 3 months after half of the states began ending that federal payment, there's been no significant influx of job seekers. In states that cut off the $300 check, the workforce and the number of people who either have a job or are looking for one has risen no more than it has in the states that maintain the payment. This shows folks that more stimulus payments must be sent out, and that our government must do a better job in helping out the American people with stimulus relief checks. Do you agree?
Earlier this week, during a trip to South America, Secretary of State Blinken said that, quote, undermining the independence of the courts and packing courts were among the ways that democracies can come undone. This is the Secretary of State during a trip to South America. His warning was apparently directed to neighbors in our hemisphere. But ironically, his own fellow Democrats here in Washington, D.C. apparently need the same lecture. Last week, President Biden's much ballyhooed commission tasked with studying potential changes to the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court issued its first findings. And in some corners of the radical left, there was predictable disappointment that it had not more explicitly fed the flames. But let's be clear, the mere creation of this commission was itself a clumsy act of political thuggery against judicial independence. And what it did seem to support, shaping term limits on Supreme Court justices, is no less of a radical affront to the principles on which the court was established. So, Madam President, curtailing the tenure of our nation's senior-most judges is such an obvious threat to judicial independence. It's literally been warned about since our nation's founding. Here's what Alexander Hamilton had to say about it, and he didn't mince any words. In Federalist 78, he warned that the judiciary is, quote, in continual jeopardy of being overpowered, awed, or influenced by its coordinate branches, and that as nothing can contribute so much to its firmness and independence as permanency in office. Permanency in office. This quality may therefore be justly regarded as an indispensable ingredient in its constitution.